Hey team, Pastor Preston here. Just wanted to come to you about some big things that we have coming up, some changes we have coming, and they're going to be starting this weekend. Yeah, that's right, I said the C word, change. But anytime we change things around here, things only get better here at Fellowship Church. So don't tune out. Stick with me. It's going to be kind of a long video, but there's a lot of things we need to cover. I've been spending a lot of time with the elementary side of things, and so I'm going to be shifting my focus and attention to the preschool nursery, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me than usual. And one of the first things I wanted to talk about was volunteer recruitment and the need for additional volunteers. And whereas we do want to have more volunteers, we want to give the ministry away, and we always need to be recruiting volunteers, you and I both, we really don't need more volunteers. Yeah, I said it, and here's why. Now, don't get too hung up on this, because as I said, we still need to be recruiting volunteers, but bam! Here is the roster. This is all the people that are serving currently in preschool and nursery, both services, all rooms. There is 75 people on this list. Now, on any given weekend, we have roughly on average about 40 people that are serving both services, all rooms. That means there's 35 people on any given weekend that aren't here at all. And that is simply just too many people. So we need to turn this around, and this is what I'm going to suggest and ask of every single one of you is that we, starting this weekend, go to an every weekend mentality. I know some of you have already been on an A-B schedule, maybe been A-B since the very beginning of Plano opening or ever since you started serving, but I want to ask you to prayerfully consider stepping it up and becoming an every weekend volunteer. And this is the main reason is for connectivity between you and the fellow volunteers, connectivity between you and the kids. It's about consistency and always being here, because consistency helps foster relationships, and relationships is what it's all about. So please start thinking about that, praying about that. If you can't do it, if for some reason you can't go every weekend, I want to know why. Let's talk about it. But all this is to do is to help foster relationships, to help increase your walk with God, and as we serve the church, love our neighbor, okay? So be thinking and praying about that. Also, another thing I was thinking about is, as you're probably sitting there asking, well, what can we as a church do to get more volunteers recruited in here? I'm going to turn the tables for a moment on you and ask you, who is it that you're bringing into the fold? Who are you reaching? Because you know people that I don't know, and I know people that you don't know. And we all have the sphere of influence around us that maybe at your home team, Flavor, Men of the House, other friends of yours that you know serve here or attend here but don't serve anywhere yet. And so I'm asking, who are you asking? Are you going for the ask? We've got to go for the ask. Ask people. Because the simple fact of the matter is, the best volunteers, the people that we don't even have serving yet or leaders yet, need to be asked. They're waiting out there. They're not going to come to us. We've got to go to them. And so this is something I do too. The last two big Flavor nights, I've recruited two guys into elementary side. One of them brought his wife along, and now she's one of my best leaders. So I urge you guys to please go for the ask. Who do you know? Just simply ask yourself, who do you know that's not serving anywhere right now that you could get into the mix? If we all invited one person, everyone on this list, one person, we would double like that. But we got to go fishing, people. We got to go fishing. We got to go for the ask, and we got to do it all together to maximize our efforts. So it's Bring a Friend to Serve With You month at FC Kids, okay? Ask. Another thing I wanted to point out to you is something that Jesus said in Matthew 9:37-38. He said, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few." We are the few workers, and we have this plentiful harvest in front of us that can be kind of overwhelming sometimes, but we need to stay the course as we do what God has called us to do. This verse further goes on to say, "Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." Prayer. He's talking about prayer. We need to be praying to God, and I hope you're joining me in praying that God would work in the lives of the people of Fellowship Church, that He would open the eyes, open the hearts of the people who are not serving anywhere yet, that God would give us opportunities to go for the ask with people in our sphere of influence. So be praying, be asking someone to serve, and let's, right now, to nip this seemingly volunteer shortage in the bud, let's all start serving every single weekend. Again, give me a call. Let me know if you have any questions about that. But let's start doing that immediately and having every weekend mentality. Because I understand that things are going to come up. You're going to have vacations. You got to go out of town. You've got to, something happens at home. Things happen. But that's what Planning Center's for. Emailing, texting, phone calls. Just let us know. We're cool with that. But anytime you're in town and you're available to come and serve, because you're coming in to serve anyway, I mean, you're coming to church anyway, right, on your off weekend, so just stay 1 extra hour and serve with us, and it's going to help tremendously this seemingly shortage. Like I said, we've got everyone we need right here. So let's do that together, okay? The other big thing I wanted to talk about was the pre-service meeting. Now, the pre-service meeting starts every Sunday morning at 8:45 in the Inventors Room, okay? And I went into this past weekend and there was only 10 people in there. Let's quickly go back to the roster. The roster has 75 people on it. That means that there's 65 people that weren't at the meeting. Or let's work with the numbers we do work with on the weekend, which is 40. There's 40 people that are attending average, that are on average serving in preschool nursery. So that means about 30 were not in attendance. And guys, it's so important. It's so important that we come together and have this pre-service meeting, and it's for 3 big reasons. Number 1, info on the lesson. Number 2, announcements and keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the church. And number 3, connectivity. Now, the info on the lesson, things change at the last moment. We make additions. I know we send the email out, the Tumblr, and the videos, and give you everything that we could possibly give you ahead of time to prepare yourself, but things happen at the last minute. For example, this past weekend, I brought in these magnifying glasses that I had picked up on Saturday. And so Saturday I brought those in, and or Sunday brought those into the meeting and said these will be in your rooms, and they are for the kids to do the song with and walk around as little ace detectives. But I further said in that meeting that these were to just be used as props every weekend and not to be given out. Well, here comes my little 4-year-old Keely up to me with it in hand, and I said, well, darling, where did you get that from? And she said, my teacher gave it to me. Now, I'm not calling anybody out on this. I just want to express how important it is that we all be at that meeting to get all the information for the morning, because the simple fact of the matter is that transition in between 9:30 and 11 is way too hectic. And while we'll try our best to get you downloaded with any changes and info you need to know, there's just simply not always enough time. And so if we all come together at the very top of the morning and get all that downloaded into all our brains, we are good to go and prepared for the rest of the morning, and it's going to go a lot smoother. The other reason is announcements. This is where we're going to share the things that are happening in the life of the church. Where we talk about baptisms that are coming up, where we talk about the 20th anniversary, the Plano Peeps shirts that we all made. These are all things that we will cover there in the pre-service meeting. Now, on the 20th anniversary, we had some preschool volunteers actually show up here at the Plano campus. They simply didn't know about it because they had been missing the announcements, which means they also were missing the announcements at the end of service, which let me stop right there and say, make sure you're sticking it through in the main worship service all the way through announcements so that you know what is happening. Here's the other reason behind that. Because you are a volunteer, you are viewed as a leader in this church, and eventually someone is going to come to you as that leader and ask a question about something happening in the church, and you need to be in the know. So be someone who is in the know about what's happening at fellowship. And the last is connectivity. This is something that's very important, near and dear to my heart. Anywhere I go, I want to cultivate an atmosphere of family. And the only way that's going to happen is with time spent together. That's the only way we're going to connect and bond, is with time spent. And within that hour, there's just simply not enough time. And let's face it, we really should be focused on the children during the hour of children's worship. So I want you all to just really think about the connection that can happen if you're there. That's where we share the prayer requests, where we will experience life together. And so it's so important that you guys come to that meeting to get the info on the lesson, the announcements, and so that we can connect. And we're going to be planning some other things very shortly with some events and socials outside of church. But the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we are in a spiritual warfare battle. Forces of good and evil coming head to head. And this is a battle that's easily won. It's easily won when we are prepared and aware of the evil one's schemes. And the evil one wants to make you and me believe that it's not worth it, that it's too much work, it's too hard, that you're burned out. I'm telling you, that's the evil one trying to get you off track. If he can thwart any of these plans to win kids for Christ, he will do it. So let's all work together, band together as an army, and show kids God's love, help kids love church. See you Sunday.